we played, in all phases, offense, defense, and special teams. And I think the thing that's really most obvious in this game is, when we do things correctly, we have success. When we don't, we have negative plays on offense, we give up plays on defense, we give the other team opportunities to make plays on special teams. So, it's pretty obvious that if you know what to do, how to do it, why it's important to do it that way, and you can go out there and do it with confidence, that you're going to have the best chance to play aggressively, be physical, play the kind of football that we want to play with discipline and toughness here. And you do that by how you practice and how you prepare, for games. So we have to be able to build on this so that we can continue, to improve. We're excited about the SEC home opener, here this Saturday on CBS, and it's an opportunity to play, what could be arguably the best team we've played so far this year. I know Ole Miss has had a tough loss last week, but they've, played well in a couple games and have a couple good wins, and quarterback's playing really well for them. Backup quarterback came in and played even better, in the game last week. They got a really good runner. They got some really good skilled players at receiver. Got good specialists, good return guys. Their defense has been a lot more aggressive this year in terms of creating negative plays, sacks, tackles for loss, those types of things. So this is a well-coached team, and this is a team that we've struggled with some in the past that, we're certainly going to have a great week of preparation to be able to play well in this game.
Coach, we'll start right here with John.
How much, since you've been in the SEC, how much kind of a philosophy change have you seen offensively where it used to be run first, now two of the top three passing teams in the country are from the SEC West?
Well, I don't think it's just this conference. I think it's football in general. I think, used to be a lot more closed formations. Now everything is spread and open. I think space play is much more important than it used to be years ago. People throw, a 2-yard pass on an RPO and it turns into a 70-yard play. So the game has just opened up to where, horizontally and vertically, you got to cover the entire field. In the old days, I don't think it was really that way. And I think that's, created a lot more explosive plays on offense. And people who have good skill players and a good quarterback have a chance to really, take advantage of some of those things. And it makes it much more difficult on defense. So I think the combination of those things probably has changed our league just like it's changed football in general.
Coach, go back to Cecil.
Coach, did you get any update today on DJ Dale, which Rel Lewis, and also Bill Bragg?
Those guys will probably not practice today, but we expect them to practice tomorrow or the next day. So we're hopeful that they'll be ready to play in this game. And who else did you ask about? Who?
Riker.
Well, I think he may be a little more day-to-day and a little more questionable than the other guys, and I don't think this is something with the kicker that you can sort of push the guy along and have him have something that's going to aggravate him for the rest of the season, so we need to get it right now.
Stay back there with Brett.
What makes a lineman good as a puller? What skill set does a lineman need to excel at that?
Well, I think first of all, if you have good initial quickness and you got explosive power, you got good balance and body control, and those things are what's going to help you pull, move, be under control. I think one of the biggest things you see with players now who struggle in these areas, they don't bend their lower body, so they get sort of top heavy, bend at the waist, don't have very good balance and body control. So if the target moves at all, especially when they're on the move, they have a hard time adjusting. So, guys that can bend and strike are usually the best guys that can pull and block in space.
Back up front here with Mike.
The 4 games, where have you seen the most growth from Tua?
Tua's been a really good player last year. I think this year he's a lot more confident. I think he does a better job and has a better understanding of what the defense is trying to do. And I think that just elevates his ability to make better choices and decisions. Not that he ever made bad ones before, I don't mean it that way. You know, he's got good skilled players that, and he's accurate at getting them the ball. And he gets the ball out of his hand quick, and we haven't taken a lot of bad plays.
Coach back over the right, Charlie.
With Deontay Brown now eligible to play for you guys, what's the plan for him this week and just moving forward?
Well, the plan for every player on our team is the guy's got to beat somebody out if he wants to play. I mean, nobody's entitled to play. I mean, so, you know, he gets in shape, he does what he's supposed to do, he shows that he can play better than somebody else that's playing. That's the plan. Just like it's the plan for every other guy on the team. So, and that's really kind of up to him, not up to me.
Here in the middle with Joe.
Dick, on Friday, former Alabama football players in the NFL started receiving boxes of gear from you. I was wondering what was the origin story behind that, and how long have you been doing that, and why do you think it's so important?
Well, we're just really proud of the guys who did a fabulous job of, you know, representing this program when they've, you know, been here. And, you know, we seem to have, you know, quite a few guys this year who had very impactful seasons, you know, early on in terms of helping the team that they're on now. So it's just sort of a, you know, token of our appreciation for what they're doing, how they're doing, and how they're representing the University of Alabama, even after they're gone, and how it makes us all proud that they do that. I think our fans, our program, our administration, and everybody here. So just a little, you know, gesture of appreciation.
Come back over here, Tony.
How much of a spark does Henry Ruggs provide early in games, and do you try to get him involved more early in games?
Well, I think that we like to get all of our guys involved early in the games. I think that, you know, some of the plays that these guys make, I know you all look at it like, okay, we put this play in so we can throw the ball to this guy, but you throw the ball to the guy relative to what the defense does. So, like, you know, one of the plays that he scored on early in the game was a double pattern, which was kind of a setup play for him. But the other play was an RPO. We could have just as easily handed the ball off as throwing it to him relative to what the defense did. So I think, you know, our receiver core in general, ability to catch and run with the ball, including Henry Ruggs, is, you know, one of the assets that we have on our team. So, you know, we want all those guys to get featured the best we can.
Go with James here. Back.
Anfernee Jennings has had good statistical production so far, but what else does he do to help the team that doesn't show up on the stat sheet?
Well, I think the two guys that have probably on defense that has really, you know, sort of picked up the leadership, you know, part of it, setting a good example, really encouraging some of the young players. Anfernee Jennings and Xavier McKinney have, you know, those two guys have tried to, you know, pick up some of the slack when, you know, some of these other guys that were older, more experienced players that had leadership roles, you know, aren't present. And I think, you know, both those guys have played very well. They're both like players of the week this year, and they both have had really good production. But I think what you don't see is how they're impacting and affecting, you know, other players on the team who probably need their support. And it helps the younger players have confidence when they feel like the older players are confident in them.
Finish up back with Edwin unless we have another follow-up.
Could you talk about Christian Barrymore, and do you think he's going to be seeing some more significant playing time in the future?
Well, you know, we certainly are pleased with the progress that he's made. He's got ability, he's got initial quickness. The challenge for us has been, you know, to get him to do the things that he needs to do relative to the rest of the players on defense. You can't have guys that if they're supposed to slant to the right, slant to the left. That's when the ball goes, you know, out the gate. And he's learning that that's a real critical part of what he needs to do to take the next step as a player. And we certainly need for him to do that. and we're encouraged by the steps that he's made, to do that. So hopefully his role will increase for us in the future.
Coach, we did have two more quick follow-ups. Cecil, about it will be now.
Coach, just a general, non-specific question, since the recruiting calendar has accelerated so much. What's the importance of signing a quarterback every year in the overall scheme of recruiting?
Well, I think the importance is to sign a good quarterback. That's probably most important, not just a quarterback. Because I think, those guys, and I think it's more apparent in college football now than it's ever been, the teams that have a legitimate chance to have a really good season, most of them have really pretty good quarterbacks. It doesn't mean that just because you have a good quarterback that you're going to have a good season. You got to have good players to play around them, but it certainly helps because that guy distributes the ball to every guy on the team. So his ability to be efficient and effective enhances everybody's chances of being successful. But it's also the most difficult position to play if you don't have good players around you. So it's important to surround a quarterback with other good players, and then everybody has a chance to be successful.
Finish up right here with Tom.
If Will Reichert is unable to go, how confident are you in Joe Bolivas? And then how do you kind of approach him from a confidence standpoint after kind of losing out on the job this season?
Well, he did a great job in the last game. I mean, I thought he kicked off well, had a couple touchbacks, put the ball in the right place. Hit the ball really well on the extra points that he had an opportunity to kick. So he certainly demonstrated that he had confidence in that game. We have confidence in him. He kicked for us all last year. So we're going to encourage him and be positive with him. But ultimately, every player has got to believe in themselves if they're going to be successful at what they do.